Mario Kart Wii! Woohoo!
After Mario Kart Double Dash, my expectations for this series were at an all-time high. Mario Kart Wii honestly was a little disappointing for me, even as a kid. Don't get me wrong, there's so much I like about this entry, but there are several things that make it an overall step down for me. Parts of Mario Kart Wii that fell short left me wondering why so much from Double Dash wasn't carried over. The Mario Kart games are honestly as important as mainline 3D Mario for me, because Mario Kart 64 was my first game ever. It all begs the question, is Mario Kart Wii a bad game? Well, let's take a deep dive to answer that question. Okay, let's get the bad stuff out of the way first. I remember before this game came out, my dad was showing me some pre-release stuff for it online. When he told me that the game was confirmed to not have 2 racers at a time like Double Dash, I was already questioning this game. Of course, that never fully killed my hype for the game. I distinctly remember getting it on launch day in the box with the Wii wheel and being super excited. Despite only having 1 driver per kart, it was still extremely fun to play a new Mario Kart and to be able to drive it like a real car. However, the 2-driver aspect of Double Dash is now one of its features that makes it stand out above the other games in the series as time has gone on. There's numerous other things like this unique to Double Dash that I covered in that video, so be sure to check that out after you finish this one. So back to what I don't like about Mario Kart Wii. Well, here's one major issue. The karts themselves suck in this game, and
they should call this game Mario Bike Wii.
When you choose a bike, you get the option to wheelie, and that gives you a little extra speed if you can maintain it, thus making them way more powerful than the cars and just a better pick. Also, the turning just feels a lot better on the bikes than the karts. So the only time you would ever opt for a kart is when you're forced to use them in 50cc initially, or if you're a grandma and you just bought a Wii after playing Wii Sports with your grandkids on Christmas 2006 and you don't know any better. It's a bit silly that they force you into karts and force you into bikes on 50cc and 100cc respectively. I know that once you beat them all you can do whatever you want, but who cares? Why would I ever play 50cc with a bike after getting gold on all the cups? I guess if I was a massive perfectionist with the game and needed to get that 3-star ranking on all the cups, sure, but I'm not doing that. I mentioned the karts feeling bad and their turning in particular being worse than the bikes. In general, I would say Mario Kart Wii feels a lot more stiff compared to that bounciness of Double Dash. The turning and overall controls feel more similar to Mario Kart 64 in this way. It still works fine, it's just not my preference. I miss being able to mini turbo like a madman in Double Dash. Instead, the drifting pretty much locks you into this turning radius and it can be a bit difficult to get the super mini turbo at times. Again, the overall controls and turning in Mario Kart Wii do function very well. I just prefer Double Dash in a lot of ways. So far I've already offered up a lot of criticism of this game, and you're probably fiercely typing away at how wrong I am. Just understand though that I have a lot of nostalgic value for Mario Kart Wii, and I do still like the game. The series as a whole is one of my favorites ever, but Wii might be my least favorite of the console entries at least. So I have a few more points of criticism for the game, but then we will talk about what I really enjoy about it. I'm overall not too keen on Mario Kart Wii's aesthetics. Some courses look amazing, like Maple Treeway, sure. However, everything just kinda has a little bit of blurriness to it. It's not my TV or the fact that I'm playing on a Wii U. The blurriness is always something I've noticed, and the game just does not have the same pleasant visuals as Double Dash. Obviously then too, something like Mario Kart 8 blows it totally out of the water, but that was a future release, so it is expected. Another aesthetic piece I can't stand is how terrible some of the voices sound. Yoshi is my go-to and always was. However, I actually stopped picking him for this game specifically because of how horrible some of his voice lines sound. It's as if somebody's holding a pillow over his face while he's trying to make the normal noises. So instead I'm going with Koopa Troopa because he doesn't sound as bastardized. This issue goes beyond just Yoshi as well. Have a listen to some other characters. Unlocking new cups and players in this game is odd. Unless you play a ton of local multiplayer, you're not unlocking anything there. Instead, if you want to get the later cup races in the game, you pretty much need to play single player from what I'm aware of. And that is such a strange choice, given that you could unlock pretty much anything together in Double Dash. In my video for that one, I detailed unlocking Special Cup for the first time with my dad and how amazing that was. Well, not here. Multiplayer feels kind of like a weird side mode in Mario Kart Wii instead of a major feature, as you're pretty much forced to play single player. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about other things like battle mode or time trials, and part of that is because I just don't have a lot of experience here. For me, Mario Kart is always just about racing against the computer or having a couple friends do the same with you. My battle mode experience was mostly in Double Dash, so it is nice to see a familiar course here at least. Before we get to my biggest gripe, I'll offer one more small critique. The game offers many control schemes to play, and that's a great thing. However, when playing with a GameCube controller, you have to push up on the D-pad to do tricks in the air. That means you have to take your hand off the stick and are not able to steer mid-air, which is crucial. So you're going to have to put the GameCube controller away because although you can use it, it's pretty much useless. You're going to opt for either a classic controller or just a Wii Remote and Nunchuck, which is my preference. And again, nobody under the age of 68 and over the age of 8 actually likes using the tilt controls, so pick your poison. It's time now for my biggest issue with the game, but then we will get into the good stuff, I promise. The main reason why I cannot stand Mario Kart Wii sometimes compared to a lot of the other games is because of the outrageous item spam. If you recall from my Double Dash video, I mentioned not getting hit with a blue shell until I got up to 150cc, which sounds right. Well, that isn't the case here at all. It's so blatantly intentional to have blue shells magically show up the moment you are close to winning, or when you're right about to cross a large chasm so that the explosion makes you fall down into it and punish you even further. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you won't have to succumb to this game's baloney like I did here in Rainbow Road. Also, when it rains, it pours. You'll get hit with a blue shell, get struck by lightning, and then run over by somebody, or hit with a red shell. It's insane. It doesn't really create a genuine feeling of challenge, it's just annoying. You're actively being punished for doing well when the game just decides that now is the time you get blue shelled, and they come so fast and there's just nothing you can do. The fact that it happens constantly, even in 50cc, is truly insane. That's supposed to be the little baby difficulty where I can win by a country mile every time. I'll give you this though, towards the end of my Rainbow Road race here, I fell off the track. It was completely my fault. I got past, but immediately the new leader got blue shelled twice very quickly. So despite the spam being really annoying, it does go both ways and it did help me salvage the run. So there's a lot of flaws with Mario Kart Wii for sure. Most of the ones I've detailed here are, I would say, minor gripes that just make me put it a peg below something like Double Dash. And generally, I just have a preference for Double Dash, which is completely fine. However, the item spam issue is the major problem, and it's why I don't revisit this one as much. There's still a lot to like about the game though, so let's get into that next. So if you haven't already disliked the video, left your comment, and clicked on something else, perhaps you would like to hear why Mario Kart Wii is a great game. Well, let's start off with the new courses. There are so many memorable tracks here like Mushroom Gorge, Coconut Mall, honestly the entirety of Flower Cup just rips, and Moonview Highway. There's certainly a level of innovation. Racing through something like a mall and seeing Mii's drive around the parking lot was such a fun and interesting concept when this game was released. The other innovation that makes Mario Kart Wii so fun is being able to get a speed boost off of almost anything. If you shake the Wii remote while jumping, you can do a little trick and get a boost. This mechanic can be nearly broken in courses like Bowser Castle with little jumps here and there. Similarly, going up the sides versus taking a tight turn creates a fun dynamic as well. Of course, I already mentioned that the GameCube controller is pretty much useless when it comes to this mechanic, but that's why we have the Wii remote anyway. The overall feeling of the game might be more stiff than Double Dash's bounciness, but getting that extra boost helps tremendously with not being able to get mini turbos all the time. I mentioned before how I've always enjoyed the inclusion of retro courses in modern Mario Karts. Wii was the first one on a home console to include these retro tracks, and they are actually really important to continue including as time moves on. Seeing courses from the SNES game made me curious as a kid, and I started to research what the SNES even was. Ultimately, this was my gateway into retro gaming, and I'm super happy that I was able to experience older games even long after they weren't necessarily popular anymore. Although the intentions of Nintendo might just be to nostalgia bait us into buying these games with remastered courses, they do at least somewhat preserve the legacy of the games. The initial intention doesn't really matter. I know that the bottom line is always the dollar and not doing good by the game preservation community, especially for a company like Nintendo. However, we can appreciate the retro courses from this perspective as well. The soundtrack is amazing. What else did you expect? There seems to just be an overwhelming appreciation for Coconut Mall, and for good reason. I mean, just listen to it. Pretty much every song is solid, though some may not be as memorable as others. I would say in almost every way, including soundtrack, I prefer the Rainbow Road of Double Dash to that of Wii. It's still a fitting song, but not as good. Something that will always take me back is the menu theme. I love how it starts with this really minimalistic bass-heavy riff, then develops into something grand. I remember hearing that bass sound in the beginning, and I truly felt like I was in the future. Playing this game for the first time did give a similar feeling to playing Wii Sports for the first time. The next generation was here. I know I've been highly critical of the game, but man, it really did mean a lot to me back in the day. And despite multiplayer being a bit odd, I still did have a lot of fun with it. Even though my dad never played too many games with me as a kid, I do have some memories with him in Mario Kart Wii. This honestly was probably one of the last games that we really played together all that much. By the time Mario Kart 8 came out, it was just my hobby. Also, it was hard to get people excited to play the Wii U with me, even if it was something as big as Mario Kart 8. And so eventually my dad and I just stopped playing games together. Although the online was incredibly clunky, even for the standards of the time, this game did have online multiplayer, which was mind-blowing. I don't have any footage of the online without just ripping somebody else's, unfortunately. My parents were pretty late adopters of Wi-Fi, and I only experienced a little bit of Mario Kart Wii's online. However, the bit of it that I did get was a magnificent experience. I could not believe I was playing with other real people, and I think this may have been my first online gaming experience on a console at least. Again, it was clunky with friend codes and all that other nonsense, but it laid the foundations for me with online Mario Kart. When it came time for Mario Kart 8, I played that sucker online a tremendous amount. Lastly, on a more lighthearted note, the game does have a lot of unlockable characters, some of which are pretty great, like Funky Kong. No, I didn't take the time to get everyone, but there certainly is plenty here to unlock. It's a game that I can still entertain myself with for hours on end when I do decide to give it a revisit, and that makes it special. So despite me just generally preferring Double Dash and probably also Mario Kart 8, I still clearly have a lot of positive things to say about Mario Kart Wii, as well as all my criticisms. Double Dash felt a little more innovative and different when following up something like Mario Kart 64. Despite Mario Kart Wii feeling more traditional in a sense, it is still a damn fine game. It's not a once a year play for me, but maybe once every few years. Ultimately, the Mario Kart games will always be in a high spot, and I still enjoy this one. So no, it's not a bad game, just less good. Thanks for watching.